General Order 20, Stardate 2-0501. Officers and personnel of Starfleet Command may employ whatever means necessary to prevent the possession, transportation, sale, or commercial exchange of sentient beings held against their wishes within the boundaries of Federation space. You know, that's almost one of those general orders that you figure almost shouldn't have to exist. And yet, I imagine that there's been some issues over the years, over the centuries, if you will, since the existence of the Federation, where non-Federation member world or non-Federation members or foreign powers have attempted to move or transport individuals or entire groups of individuals against their will, and for various purposes, and majority of which we make the assumption is nefarious purposes, but not necessarily so. The first thing that comes to mind, of course, is the Orions and the Orion green slave women, quote, and the green slave men, unquote, and the rare and almost never seen gray Orions, which you have to really get into the Orions to know the cultural diversity that really exists there. Within the Orion colonies, the Orion Federation itself, or whatever confederation, whatever it calls itself, which is in and are part of Federation space per se, although it borders on the triangle area of the Alpha Quadrant, which is where the Klingons, the Romulans, and the Federation kind of have this no man's zone or no claim zone that's full of independence and small nation states and so on and so forth that are extremely active. It's a very lively chunk of space. Now, there's an argument that the terminology slaves, when it comes to the Green Orion women specifically, wouldn't be acceptable in today's standards with today's social mores, or at least to the angles that we are approaching them at. But it's also been suggested that it's been misconstrued, that the terminology of the term slave is misappropriated. It should not apply here because it's more like indentured servants, and we still have some very gray and controversial concepts of that today too, where nobody's supposed to be in debt to somebody else, and yet there's many ways that can be accomplished, mostly through the company store policy. I owe you so much that I agree to work off my debt in lieu of, say, legal action that could put me in prison or something. And while it's not illegal, it's not legal, and it's kind of one of those, nudging and a wink kind of things that can get a lot of people irate. And I don't want to get into a discussion on that now. But General Order gives the officers and command people the ability to decide to intervene in a situation where we're talking sex trafficking or human trafficking or alien trafficking, however you want to look at it, or the possession of intelligent beings. There can be some tricky areas too, because within the genre of science fiction, the possibility that there are sentient or sentient beings who are very underdeveloped per se. So if we look at our direct ancestors from tens of thousands of years ago, maybe even the the caveman days and stuff like that, it could apply here too, where they're sentient beings and yet they're not a developed or advanced species. Preventing them from being exploited would be a desirable thing, and there would always be somebody willing to exploit them. This also could come up as another legal issue when somebody decides to relocate a population from a planet that they want to make use of, forcefully evicting them from the planet, and at this point, illegally transporting them across Federation space, if you will. Interesting to note that it does not specify within Federation space. So this general order could be applied theoretically anywhere that the Starfleet operates and decides to stick its nose into other people's business. I'm just putting it out there. Till next time. Keep track of where your people are.